Hi, third graders. Hope you're doing great today. It is that time for our class read aloud, The War with Grandpa. And yesterday we stopped at a point where Grandpa and Peter were out on the front porch having their flag of truce meeting. And it finally came to the end of it where Grandpa told Peter, "No, I'm not giving back your room." And so then Peter, he got angry and he got off that porch and he said to his grandpa, "Then you better watch out for my next and second attack." So that brings us to chapter 20. A slippery customer. So here we go. What did I steal Grandpa's slippers for? Well, after dinner, on my way upstairs, I just stopped by my old room and took Grandpa's slippers from the bottom of his closet. I left a little note too, and this one was written in magic marker on a sheet of notebook paper, and it said, in all caps, "I will not be defeated. But you will be the secret warrior." I thought of doing other tricky things possibly to Grandpa, like maybe putting a frog in his bed or a gerbil. But then I thought maybe the surprise would really get him super scared and maybe even possibly give him a heart attack. That can happen to people, especially old people. They get a nasty shock and bingo, heart attack city. I was at war with Grandpa, but I didn't want to kill him. I went to bed thinking about it all, but before I could fall asleep, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. Real slow, limpy footsteps. Grandpa came in and snapped the overhead light on. "All right," he said gruffy, "where are my slippers?" "What slippers?" I said. "The ones you stole, Petey boy." Before I could answer, he went over to the closet and opened it. There is where his slippers were in plain sight. Right where yours truly had dumb enough to leave them right there. My, what do we have here?" Grandpa said. Looks like somebody's slippers, huh?" He picked them up and looked at me, shaking his head just a little bit. He seemed rather disappointed. "Are we now finished with all of these sneaky tricks?" he asked. I didn't answer. "You think you're slippery, huh? You're one slippery little customer, don't you?" he said, "with all these tricks." "Not tricks," I said back. "Oh, no? Then what would you call stealing someone's slippers?" "Guerrilla warfare." Grandpa looked at me and then he began to laugh. That laugh really annoyed me, though. Here I was in the middle of war, and now my enemy was laughing at me? "I don't think it's very funny," I said. "Funnier than you think," Grandpa said. "Guerrilla warfare, huh? Monkey whiskers. That's what it should be more like." "Now you got your slippers," I said. "Now you just go." "Petey, we've got to get this settled between us. Tomorrow, maybe. You go to sleep now, okay? But tomorrow, we're going to talk." He leaned down over my bed and gave me a dry kiss on my forehead. "Good night," he said. "Good night," I said back to him. I wanted to say more, like, "I'm sorry," but I didn't. A war is a war, I thought, and it does not end until one party surrenders. "Guerrilla warfare," he said on his way out of my room. When he closed the door, he was chuckling to himself. It was then that I began to think that I would probably lose this war to Grandpa. Grandpa was so nice, and he would just ignore everything I did, and in the end, he would stay in my room, and I'd be stuck up here forever. Some war this is, I thought. My enemy, he just kissed me goodnight. Chapter 21, Strategy and Supplies. "That's very revealing, Steve said, saying as we were walking to the store. "He actually kissed you?" "Yeah," I said. "This is a pathological warfare," Steve said, "and that is very clever of him." "He's messing with your mind," Billy said. We were on our way to Dealtown, the store where we always would buy our school supplies. Steve needed more pens and index cards and even a notebook. I never knew a kid who would use up so many school supplies as Steve did, or who loved school as much as he did, in fact. It was a little unnatural, if you ask me. I mean, school's okay, but besides, you do have to go. But I always think that a few more holidays during the year wouldn't hurt anything. Steve thinks that a day without school is a rotten day. He's always reading books, taking notes on index cards, and whenever he sees a new word, he has to look it up in the dictionary, write it on the index card, and then memorize it. Grandpa is trying to nice you out, Steve said. But he is nice, I said. There you are, Steve said. He's got you believing it already. Wait a minute, I said. Something's wrong here. Yeah, you are, Billy said. It's very simple, said Steve as we entered the store. You start a war. Grandpa doesn't want to fight, so he tries to be so darn nice to you that you'll forget the whole thing and call off the war. Isn't that it? No, I said. He's just a good, sweet old man, and he loves me a lot. So he forgave me for stealing his slippers, and I let him, kiss me. Well, that wasn't too bright, leaving the slippers right in your closet. Come on, Billy said. You should have at least thrown them in the trash or something. I would never do that, I said. Or you could burn them, Billy said. I can't burn slippers. Well, there you have it, Steve said, and he picked up a shopping basket. What? Billy asked. Oh, well, I'm going to just start looking for what I want to get. I figured that he probably had all the moves made out. He'll probably figure out what you're going to do to your enemy soon, I hope. I bet your grandpa even knows about it. Steve put a big spiral notebook and a pack of index cards right into his basket. He's not that way, I protested. Grandpa is a great guy, that's all. Steve gave me one of those all-knowing of his looks, as if he were talking to a bird brain. Never underestimate the enemy, he said. I have to say this about my friend Steve. Sometimes for a guy who has a great brain and all, he can be so dumb. So what are you going to do next? Billy asked. Probably nothing, Steve said. You're both wrong, I said. I'm going to do something. I want my room back. Can you maybe put a lock on the door so we can't get in? Billy wanted to know. No, I said. Steve took a 10-pack of ballpoint pens and put it right into his basket. I'll tell you what I think, he said. I think that this war, it's over, and you lost. Chapter 22, Slapshot. I wonder if he really did lose this war. When I came out on the porch after lunch, Grandpa was waiting. Let's meander, he said. I figured we should do some talking. Well, what about your leg? Well, Grandpa said, it's still attached to my body, isn't it? I mean, doesn't it hurt when you walk a lot? Petey, he said. It hurts whether I walk. It hurts whether I don't walk. So maybe I ought to get up and get some exercise and heck with this old leg. We began to walk towards Beverly Road. The shopping street was just a few blocks away. Is this a flag of truce again? I asked. There you go with that war business again, Grandpa said. Forget all that. Oh, I'm not forgetting it, I said. I declared war on you, and I mean it. Pish posh, Grandpa said. I didn't know what that meant exactly, but I kind of got the idea. This isn't a war, he said. This is called a disagreement. This might even be called a dispute. And what you're doing is starting a family feud. It is not. This is to a war, I insisted. You moved. You took over my territory, didn't you? And isn't that what a war is about? No, said Grandpa. Wars are about power and greed. And getting back at what is yours, I said. Grandpa stopped walking, and so then I stopped too. His eyes seemed hard and cold when they looked at me. So you think war is perfectly okay? He said. Is that about it? Well, sometimes, I said. Like when? Well, when you have to stick up for your rights, I said. Grandpa's mouth made a thin line as if he shook his head. That's wrong, Petey. There are lots of ways of settling arguments without going to war. There's peaceful ways. I tried that with my parents and it didn't work. And that's why I had to go to war with you. Wrong, Grandpa said. Not wrong, I told him back. You took my room. Listen, Pete, Grandpa said slowly. The only time you have to fight a war is when someone attacks you. Then, and only then, you have the right to defend yourself. You got that? I thought about that for no more than a second. Wasn't I attacked? I said. Didn't they yank me out of my room and shove me away upstairs like I was some old chair or something? Grandpa sighed and looked away for a minute. I could see he was now upset. It's just like Risk, I said. Someone invades your territory and you have to zap them. I felt Grandpa's bony hand now on my arm. War is no game, Peter, he said. Only kids and fools and generals think that. You're my enemy, I said in a loud voice, and I want what is mine. I shook his hand right off my arm. You marched in like an army and you kicked me out. Whack! Grandpa's right hand came whipping out of nowhere and slapped me hard across my cheek. I was so shocked and surprised I couldn't even say anything. My cheek felt hot and burning, and it hurt. Why did you hit me? I asked. I had tears in my eyes, but I didn't want to cry. War hurts, Grandpa said. War hurts, and war wounds, and they kill, and it causes misery. And only a fool would want war. I stared into Grandpa's brown eyes that looked so mean to me now. I won't forget this, I said. That's the idea. And I won't forgive you either. From now on, we're really at war. I turned away and I started to go back towards the house, walking as fast as I could. And I left Grandpa on the street, and he was standing there calling my name. Wow. Whew. Tomorrow will be chapter 23, and it says, Time Out for Jenny. I wonder why she's getting into time out. Oh, I hope you're liking this book so far. It's kind of getting intense right now, and I wonder what's going to happen between the two of them. Well, have a wonderful day. I've been thinking about you, and I will see you again tomorrow. All right, bye, third graders.